Aluka entered the classroom to meet Alan and Charlotte. There, she also met Natalia for the first time. Natalia was impressed with Aluka as Alan's younger sister, believing she must have extraordinary abilities. Aluka asked what the three of them were doing there. They were actually studying and practicing to seize the top spot in the academy, as Alan mentioned in the previous episode. According to Alan, if someone can defeat their enemies at once, that person won't have any enemies in the academy. The effective way is to compete in the enemy's field of expertise and then demonstrate a level difference. It might sound like a malicious intent. Natalia's last rival was Chris. Alan showed an example of the challenge. Whoever could grab the flag first inside the dungeon would win. Hearing this, Natalia's spirit ignited, optimistic about securing victory. Alan even offered Natalia a trick that was almost breaking the law. Natalia was interested and sought Alan's help. Alan believed that Natalia could make good use of it. Seeing their mischievous smiles, Aluka questioned Alan, who should have been disciplining Natalia, instead encouraging her mischief, which worried Charo. Natalia won the challenge, making Chris upset. Alan praised Natalia, noting that she defeated Chris in a difference of up to 30 seconds. Natalia asked why the dungeon had a sign saying it was forbidden to enter. Aluka explained that the dungeon boss was currently reproducing, making it very sensitive. Suddenly, Natalia's three subordinates approached her, reporting that they had dealt with some misbehaving students. Natalia was pleased and commended them as her outstanding disciples. They were all touched and attributed their success to their mentor. This mentor was Gosetsu and Lu. Natalia expressed her gratitude and addressed them as her mentors. Gosetsu used only candy and a whip to train Natalia's subordinates. This teaching method might sound old-fashioned but was effective in disciplining them. Gosetsu encouraged them to follow in Natalia's footsteps. They then returned to train with Gosetsu and Lu. Alan wondered why Gosetsu and Lu were called mentors, while he was simply called the Great Demon King. Natalia didn't have any other name for him. Natalia's stomach growled, audible to Charo. It was dinner time, so Natalia invited everyone to the cafeteria. Charo reminded Natalia to eat her vegetables. Lately, Natalia had been eating more vegetables, thanks to Charo's insistence. After finishing dinner, Charo offered a bowl of vegetable stew. Initially, Natalia declined, claiming she was full. However, Charo said she was thinking of Natalia's health and handed her the bowl. Natalia quickly finished the stew. Alan and Aluka applauded her obedience. Charo smiled, praising Natalia's greatness. Natalia remarked that it was only right since she was already mature. This comment prompted Charo to offer her another bowl of vegetables, which she reluctantly ate. Aluka whispered to Alan, teasing him about romantic relationships. Although it was just playful banter about Alan and Charlotte dating, Aluka was aware of her brother's true feelings for Charlotte. If things continued this way, Alan might never express his feelings. Alan asked Aluka to drop the topic. As for Natalia's mischief, it seemed to be under control. Aluka planned to investigate the situation in the Niels Kingdom again with her father's assistance. Natalia mentioned that she would teach Charo some new magic spells. They would start their training the next morning. Charo was delighted with the offer. Natalia's three subordinates arrived, panting from their training. They also offered to teach Charo. However, Gosetsu suddenly whipped them and stated they were too hasty to teach others. He instructed them to return to training. Alan carried the sleeping Natalia. They reached Natalia's room, where several books and small notes on the bed indicated her diligence and hard work. Beside her bed was a large suitcase. Alan inquired about it from Natalia's subordinates. They warned him not to touch it as it contained her valuable items. The suitcase was sealed with a sort of magic. If forcibly opened biometrically, it would activate a device. Alan was quite curious about its contents. Natalia rarely discussed the suitcase with others. Suddenly, Chris appeared outside Natalia's room. When Alan asked if he would challenge Natalia again, Chris immediately ran away. The suitcase seemed very important, as Natalia even hugged it while sleeping. They looked at the deeply sleeping Natalia, who appeared like any other child when asleep. Charlotte remembered reading illustrated books to young Natalia, who would fall asleep while listening. She never imagined Natalia would grow up so fast. Charlotte decided not to reveal her identity to Natalia, and when they talked, Natalia never mentioned her home. Charlotte believed it might be best for Natalia to forget about her, given their difficult past. Lou then questioned if Charlotte was currently close to Natalia. However, it turned out Natalia was close to Charo, Alan's assistant, not Charlotte. For Lou, Charlotte was still Charlotte and Natalia was still Natalia. She didn't want them to drift apart. Lou hugged Charlotte to comfort her, advising not to rush conclusions, but to think things through slowly. Go-sensei mentioned that time would resolve the issue and that it was best to keep a long-term watch over Natalia for now. Alan acknowledged that advice from the elder was indeed weighty. Go-setsu shared his experience. He once turned a volcanic mountain in the East Baron because he was drowsy, and now it's a beautiful green plain. Time is a potent remedy for all ailments. Charlotte decided to heed her friend's advice and think things over. Alan and the others were ready to support her until she reconciled with her younger sister. The next morning, Charlotte left the room quietly without waking Alan. She met with Natalia to learn and practice new magic. The magic Natalia was teaching was fire magic. Charlotte practiced it and successfully destroyed a rock with the new fire spell she had just learned. Charlotte thanked Natalia for her guidance. Natalia commented that Charlotte had a very good sense, and if she continued with this training, she would reach an advanced level. Natalia reminisced about the past, the enjoyable times before she came to the academy. She wanted to show something to Charlotte and invited her to her room. However, she couldn't find her suitcase, which she remembered seeing earlier that morning. She had planned to show it to Charlotte. On her study table was a challenge letter. Chris had challenged her to retrieve her suitcase from the dungeon alone. Natalia accepted the challenge and told Charlotte not to worry about her or tell Alan. She then went to meet Chris in the dungeon alone. Natalia's subordinates reported her disappearance to Alan. Neither Natalia nor her favorite suitcase was in her room. Lou couldn't detect Natalia's scent there either. Alan looked for Charlotte, who was supposed to train with Natalia. Lou also couldn't detect Charlotte's scent. Go-sensei suspected that Natalia had overheard their conversation the previous night in her room. Suddenly, one of Chris's subordinates approached them, saying that Chris had summoned Natalia to the dungeon. Although the dungeon could usually be conquered by the students here, the dungeon boss was currently sensitive due to breeding season, making it very dangerous. Natalia met Chris in the dungeon and asked him to return her suitcase. Chris threw the suitcase into a deep hole. He challenged Natalia to a duel. Whoever found the suitcase first would be the winner. They both ran towards the bottom of the large hole. Meanwhile, one of Chris's subordinates told Alan about Chris. Chris was hailed as a genius student at the academy. However, when Natalia joined the academy, she outperformed Chris by a wide margin, damaging his pride. Last night, Chris overheard a conversation about Natalia's valuable suitcase and planned to make it a challenge for her. Alan believed that Chris was restless seeing Natalia grow stronger from her training and thus challenged her to the dungeon. Alan reassured everyone, saying he would go there to straighten out the misbehaving student and return safely. He instructed Go-setsu to inform his father to be on guard because he didn't know what might happen next. Lou then excused herself to track down Charlotte's scent. Natalia successfully retrieved her suitcase, winning Chris's challenge. Suddenly, the ground trembled with the sound of footsteps. The creature was called Chimera, a monster with 3 heads, a lion's and a goat's at the front, and a tail resembling a large worm with sharp teeth. Chris fled, with Natalia following suit. They took cover behind a stone wall below. Natalia called Chris pathetic for fleeing like that. Chris was terrified upon seeing the chimera. Natalia decided to do something about it. According to a book she had read, chimeras would flee upon hearing loud noises. Suddenly, something cold dripped onto Chris's head. It was the slime from the chimera's worm-like tail. The tail lunged at them, and Chris told Natalia to dodge. Having involved Natalia, he decided to use his magic against the chimera. Chris's spell targeted the tail, causing it to retreat. They thought the spell had been effective in defeating it. However, the chimera approached them again. Its footsteps caused rocks to fall, hitting Chris. Natalia ran to dodge the falling rocks, but was thrown off balance when the chimera's goat head struck her. Just as the chimera was about to attack further, a surge of magic power made it flee. It was Charo who had scared the chimera away. She approached Natalia and bound her injured leg. Chris remained unconscious, and they waited for him to wake up. The spell Charo used to drag away the chimera was the one Natalia had just taught her. Charo had only ventured there out of sheer determination. The monster was too dangerous, and Natalia was upset with Charo for not waiting and coming to this place. However, Charo was deeply concerned about Natalia. Even though her magic was strong, Natalia was still a young girl, and it was dangerous to let her come here alone. Natalia apologized, saying she only wanted to reclaim her valuable suitcase on her own strength. The final scene showed Alan rushing towards the dungeon, a dangerous place where a creature called Salamander was breeding. It would be catastrophic if it were awakened.